Picture this. A packed arena, the lights blinding, the crowd roaring so loud it shakes your chest. Then silence falls as one man steps onto the court. His presence alone changes the atmosphere. Defenders tighten their shoes, fans grip their seats, and commentators lower their voices because they know something unforgettable is about to happen. That man is Michael Jordan, and to this day, he isn't just remembered as the best basketball player of all time. He's remembered as an icon who changed sports, culture, and business forever. But beyond the highlight reels, the slam dunks, and the championships, Jordan E.'s life is filled with stories and details that reveal just how extraordinary his journey really was. Today, we're rediving into the top 10 facts about Michael Jordan that prove why he is not just a legend of the game, he is a legend of humanity. Let's begin. 10. Cut from his high school team. Or was he? One of the most popular stories about Michael Jordan is that he was once cut from his high school basketball team. It's told like a motivational fairy tale. The greatest basketball player ever started out as a failure, rejected from his high school squad, only to bounce back and prove everyone wrong. But here's the twist. This story isn't exactly what people think. In truth, as a sophomore at Laney High School in Wilmington, North Carolina, Jordan didn't make the varsity team. He wasn't cut from basketball altogether. He was simply placed on the junior varsity roster. Why? He was only about 5 feet 10 inches tall at the time, and the varsity team already had a senior guard standing 6'7". The coach decided to prioritize size and seniority. For Michael, though, the moment of disappointment stung deeply. His mother remembers him locking himself in his room and crying after seeing the varsity list. But instead of letting that pain break him, Jordan used it as fuel. On the junior varsity team, he exploded. He dropped 40 points in some games, worked relentlessly on his craft, and impressed everyone with his unmatched competitiveness. By the next season, he had grown taller, stronger, and sharper. And this time, he not only made varsity, but dominated it. The reason this story sticks is not just because of the technical detail of JV versus varsity. It's because of what it symbolizes. Americans love comeback stories. They love tales of grit and determination where someone takes rejection and turns it into rocket fuel. And that's exactly what Jordan did. In fact, in his Hall of Fame induction speech decades later, Jordan specifically brought up his high school coach, reminding everyone that being overlooked was one of the key moments that lit the fire inside him. Imagine that. A disappointment as a teenager became a permanent engine for greatness. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. This narrative has spread so far that it's used in motivational speeches, classrooms, and corporate boardrooms across the United States. Teachers tell students, "Remember, even Michael Jordan was cut from his high school team." Business leaders repeat it when trying to inspire workers to push through failure. The detail might be simplified, but the lesson remains powerful. Jordan's sophomore setback is a reminder that greatness often begins with rejection, and what you do afterward is what defines you. For every kid who didn't make the team, for every employee passed up for a promotion, this story says, if Michael Jordan could take his pain and turn it into glory, maybe you can too. Think about how American culture thrives on underdog stories, from Rocky Balboa to the Miracle on Ice. Michael Jordan's high school failure became the real-life version of that script, and the punchline is this. Without that early rejection, without that coach telling him, "Not this year," maybe Jordan wouldn't have burned so hot for so long. Sometimes the path to greatness really does begin with a no. Number 9. College wasn't just a stepping stone. It was the birth of a legend. When people talk about Michael Jordan, they often skip from his high school stories straight to the Chicago Bulls dynasty. But to understand his rise, you have to look at his college years at the University of North Carolina under the legendary coach Dean Smith. It was there that Jordan didn't just sharpen his game. He built the foundation of his basketball identity. As a freshman in 1982, Jordan wasn't the superstar yet. He was just another talented player on a team stacked with veterans, including future NBA stars James Worthy and Sam Perkins. Yet, when the NCAA championship game rolled around against Georgetown, Dean Smith had the confidence to put the ball in Jordan's hands during the final seconds. Picture this. There are just 17 seconds left, and the Tar Heels are down by 1. The ball swings around the perimeter, and suddenly it's in the hands of the skinny freshman from Wilmington. He rises up and nails a jumper from the left wing, giving UNC the lead and ultimately the championship. That shot, forever known as The Shot, didn't just win a title. It introduced Michael Jordan to the nation. But here's the detail that often gets overlooked. Dean Smith was a coach famous for his team-first system. At UNC, no player was allowed to average more than 20 points per game. Smith believed in balance, in discipline, in humility. For Jordan, this was crucial. While he was naturally competitive, Smith taught him patience, teamwork, and how to channel his talent within a system. Many believe that without this foundation, Jordan's NBA career might have gone differently. Because while he was destined to be a superstar, Smith helped shape him into a winning superstar. After 3 years at UNC, Jordan won numerous awards, including the Naismith College Player of the Year. But even then, not everyone was convinced he'd dominate in the NBA. When the 1984 draft came around, the Houston Rockets picked Hakeem Olajuwon at number 1, and the Portland Trail Blazers chose Sam Bowie at number 2, leaving Jordan to be picked 3rd by the Chicago Bulls. Imagine that. 2 teams passed on the greatest player in history. It's one of the most infamous what-ifs in sports history. What if Jordan had landed in Portland or Houston? Would the NBA still have exploded into the global empire it became? Jordan's college years weren't just a pit stop. They were the crucible. They proved he could shine under pressure, taught him how to win, and gave him a national spotlight. In fact, he often credits Dean Smith as one of the most influential people in his life. Smith didn't just coach him. He gave him a framework for success. And let's pause here for a second. Think about American college sports culture. March Madness is practically a national holiday. The idea that the best of the best first prove themselves in college before making it to the pros is part of the American story. Jordan's 1982 shot has been replayed on ESPN for decades, a moment that perfectly captures the thrill of college basketball and the making of a hero. From that one jumper against Georgetown to the lessons in humility and teamwork, college wasn't just a stepping stone for Jordan. It was the birthplace of the myth, the moment when the country first realized. This kid might just be something special. Year 8, the 1984 Olympics. America meets Air Jordan. Before Jordan even stepped foot on an NBA court, he was already a national hero. The year was 1984, the Los Angeles Olympics, and the Cold War was still shaping every part of American life. Sports weren't just sports. They were symbols of global power, national pride, and ideological superiority. For the United States, basketball was a chance to flex its muscle against the world. And the team that summer had something special. A 21-year-old kid fresh out of North Carolina who seemed destined for greatness. Michael Jordan wasn't yet the household name we know today, but at the Olympics, he became exactly that. Coached by Bob Knight, Jordan joined forces with players like Patrick Ewing, Chris Mullin, and Sam Perkins. It was the last U.S. team made up entirely of amateurs, and yet they were unstoppable. Jordan led the team in scoring, averaging more than 17 points per game, and dazzled crowds with his speed, his vertical leap, and his ability to dominate both ends of the court. The U.S. cruised to the gold medal, defeating Spain in the final with ease. For Jordan, this wasn't just about winning gold. It was about announcing himself on the world stage. But what made this moment bigger than basketball was the timing. The Soviet Union and its allies had boycotted the 1984 Games, which gave the U.S. a clean path to victory. Still, in a Cold War America craving triumphs, Jordan's performances were celebrated as proof that American athleticism and spirit reigned supreme. Newspapers across the country ran features on the young phenom. The Los Angeles Times described him as the breakout star, and suddenly Michael Jordan wasn't just a college kid, he was a symbol of American dominance. Culturally, the Olympics also marked the start of Air Jordan as a global brand. Nike had just signed Jordan to an endorsement deal, one that was considered risky at the time. Basketball shoes were not yet the billion-dollar industry they are today, but Nike believed Jordan could change that. During the Olympics, as TV cameras beamed his highlights into millions of living rooms, Nike executives must have felt like they'd hit the jackpot. By the time Jordan stepped into his rookie NBA season a few months later, he was already a household name and the face of a new sneaker revolution. Now imagine you're an American kid in 1984. You've got posters of E.T. and Star Wars on your bedroom wall, and suddenly here comes this high-flying, gravity-defying athlete who feels like a superhero. You save your allowance to buy his sneakers, you lower the rim in your driveway to pretend you're him, and suddenly basketball becomes more than just a sport. It becomes cool, stylish, something to dream about. That transformation began with the 1984 Olympics. Jordan wasn't just a player, he was becoming a cultural force. And here's something else. Jordan loved winning that gold so much that years later, after building his NBA empire, he came back to do it again in 1992 with the Dream Team. But it all started in Los Angeles in the summer of 1984, when America and the world got their first true glimpse of Air Jordan in flight. 7. Rookie season. A superstar from day one. Most athletes need time to adjust when they make the leap to the pros. They need to get stronger, to learn the system, to figure out how to survive against the best in the world. Not Michael Jordan. From the moment he put on that Chicago Bulls jersey in 1984, he was electric. He didn't just adapt to the NBA, he transformed it. The Bulls, at the time, were not a powerhouse franchise. They weren't selling out arenas, and Chicago wasn't exactly known as a basketball city. But when Jordan arrived, everything changed. Fans who had never cared about the Bulls suddenly packed Chicago Stadium just to see him play. Ticket sales skyrocketed, TV ratings spiked, and soon, even on the road, Bulls games were sold out. It was like a traveling circus with Jordan as the main attraction. On the court, he wasted no time making history. In his rookie season, he averaged an incredible 28.2 points per game, shooting over 50% from the field, something almost unheard of for a guard. He was fearless driving into the lane, relentless on defense, and creative in ways fans had never seen. His dunks weren't just baskets, they were statements. His hang time made it look like he was playing a different sport than everyone else. By the end of that season, he was named NBA Rookie of the Year, and the legend of Michael Jordan was no longer a promise. It was a reality. But what's fascinating is how quickly he became more than just a basketball player. In the mid-1980s, the NBA was still building its global identity. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird had revived interest in the league with their rivalry, but Jordan gave the NBA something it had never had before, a player who combined unstoppable skill with movie star charisma. He was the kind of athlete who could sell sneakers, Gatorade, and even hamburgers simply by being himself. The Be Like Mike campaign that came later was already seeded in his rookie year because kids didn't just want to watch him, they wanted to be him. One vivid example. When the Bulls came to Madison Square Garden to play the New York Knicks in Jordan E.'s first season, even the famously tough New York crowd couldn't resist him. Knicks fans cheered for him, even as he torched their team with dunk after dunk. That never happens in New York. It was a sign that Jordan was transcending fandom. He wasn't just a Chicago hero, he was becoming a national phenomenon. And let's not forget the sneaker revolution that was brewing. Nike had launched the first Air Jordan shoes in 1985, and the NBA tried to ban them for violating uniform rules. But instead of backing down, Nike turned it into genius marketing. The NBA threw them out of the game. Fortunately, the NBA can't stop you from wearing them. Sales exploded. Suddenly, kids across America were begging their parents for Air Jordans, and sneaker culture as we know it today was born. Jordan's rookie season was more than stats, more than awards. It was the start of a cultural movement. He was a rookie who played like a veteran, who carried himself like a superstar, and who captivated America in a way no basketball player ever had. Imagine being a teenager in the 1980s, watching him glide through the air on your TV, wearing those banned sneakers and realizing you were witnessing history being made. Looking back, that rookie year wasn't just the beginning of a career, it was the beginning of an era. The Chicago Bulls went from irrelevant to must-see TV. The NBA went from a league fighting for attention to a league on its way to global domination. And Michael Jordan went from a promising college star to the face of a revolution in sports, fashion, and culture. From day one, he wasn't just another player, he was the player. EX, the 63-point game against the Celtics. In 1986, Michael Jordan delivered a performance so legendary that even his opponents couldn't help but admire it. To understand why it was so remarkable, we need to rewind to that season. Jordan had broken his foot early in the year, missing 64 games, and many assumed the Chicago Bulls' playoff hopes were finished. But Jordan came back late in the season, helped the team sneak into the playoffs, and prepared to face the mighty Boston Celtics, arguably one of the greatest teams in NBA history, featuring Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and Danny Ainge. No one gave Chicago a chance. The Celtics were a dynasty. The Bulls were an afterthought. But Jordan didn't care about expectations. In Game 2 of the series, inside the intimidating Boston Garden, he unleashed one of the greatest performances in basketball history. 63 points in a double overtime thriller. He hit jumpers, drove to the rim fearlessly, soared for dunks, and somehow kept Chicago alive against impossible odds. Even though the Bulls lost the game and eventually the series, Jordan's display stunned the world. After the game, Larry Bird, never one to hand out compliments lightly, said something that has echoed through history. That was God disguised as Michael Jordan. Think about that. One of the fiercest competitors in sports admitted that what he had just witnessed was beyond human. That game cemented Jordan's reputation not just as a rising star, but as a supernatural force. The context makes it even more incredible. Jordan was only in his second season, still coming off a serious injury, and yet he fearlessly attacked one of the greatest defensive teams ever assembled. For fans, it was a revelation. For kids watching on TV, it was a new definition of what basketball could be. You didn't need to have a stacked team or years of experience. If you had Michael Jordan, you had a chance. Culturally, the game had ripple effects. ESPN still replays those highlights today, reminding viewers of the night a young Jordan lit up the Celtics. For the NBA, it was proof that the league had a new face, someone who could carry the torch after Magic and Bird. And for sneaker culture, it gave Air Jordans a new myth, because fans didn't just buy the shoes, they bought into the belief that maybe, just maybe, a little piece of his magic would rub off on them. Picture being in Boston Garden that night, one of the most hostile environments in sports, filled with passionate Celtics fans. Yet, as Jordan kept hitting shot after shot, even the Boston faithful couldn't help but cheer. That is how you know it wasn't just a basketball game, it was history unfolding in real time. The Bulls didn't win the championship that year, but Jordan won something bigger: the respect of the entire basketball world. Number 5. The flu game. Or was it food poisoning? Fast forward to 1997, the NBA Finals between the Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz. The series was tied at 2 games apiece, and Game 5 in Salt Lake City was pivotal. But the night before the game, Jordan became violently ill. Reports at the time said it was the flu, and for decades it was remembered simply as the flu game. The images are unforgettable. Jordan pale, sweating, barely able to stand, but still dropping 38 points in 44 minutes to lead the Bulls to victory. Scottie Pippen had to hold him up as he left the floor, exhausted but triumphant. For fans, it was the ultimate display of toughness. It wasn't just about skill, it was about willpower. Jordan showed that greatness isn't measured only in dunks or championships, but in the ability to push beyond human limits when your team needs you most. The flu game became one of the most iconic chapters of his career, replayed endlessly in highlight reels, and even turned into sneaker releases and merchandise. But here's where the story gets murkier. Years later, Jordan and his trainer, Tim Grover, revealed that it might not have been the flu at all. According to them, Jordan had ordered a late-night pizza from a local restaurant in Utah. 5 delivery men showed up with the pizza, and shortly after eating it, Jordan fell violently ill. Grover believes it was food poisoning, possibly intentional given the hostile playoff environment. Whether it was the flu or bad pizza, the result was the same. Jordan played through agony and delivered a performance for the ages. Think about this in an American context. Sports fans love tales of perseverance, athletes pushing through pain, soldiers fighting through fatigue, workers grinding through impossible odds. Jordan's flu game became the ultimate metaphor for resilience. It's a story fathers tell their kids when teaching about toughness. It's a moment coaches cite in locker rooms when asking players to dig deeper. And it's a symbol in business, too. Executives will reference the flu game to inspire their teams. If Michael Jordan can drop 38 points with a 103-degree fever, what excuse do we have? The imagery of that night is burned into American pop culture. The sight of Jordan leaning on Pippen, drained but victorious, has become a poster for endurance. It wasn't about how healthy he was. It was about how badly he wanted to win. And that's the essence of Jordan's legacy. He always found a way, no matter the odds. Interestingly, the game also highlighted his relationship with Scottie Pippen. Without Pippen holding him up, literally and figuratively, Jordan might not have made it through. It was a reminder that even legends need teammates. Even superheroes need someone to lean on. And let's not overlook the context. That victory gave the Bulls a 3-2 series lead, and they went on to win the championship. Without the flu game, the dynasty might not have ended with 6 rings. It wasn't just a legendary performance, it was a turning point in history. Liquor 4, retirement, baseball, and the return. When Michael Jordan retired for the first time in 1993, the sports world went into shock. He had just led the Chicago Bulls to their 3rd consecutive championship, securing what's known as a three-peat, and he was at the peak of his powers. Why would the greatest player alive walk away from the game he had conquered? The answer lay in a mixture of exhaustion, personal tragedy, and a deep desire to honor his father. Jordan's father, James Jordan, had always been his biggest supporter. James dreamed of seeing his son play Major League Baseball, the sport he himself had loved as a young man. But in the summer of 1993, James Jordan was tragically murdered in North Carolina during a roadside robbery. The loss devastated Michael. He had already been considering stepping away from basketball after years of pressure, media scrutiny, and endless competition, but his father's death sealed the decision. Just months later, Jordan shocked the world by announcing his retirement from the NBA. Even more surprising, he decided to pursue baseball. He signed with the Chicago White Sox organization and was assigned to their Double-A minor league team, the Birmingham Barons. Critics mocked the move. Sports writers questioned why the best basketball player ever would attempt a sport he hadn't played since high school. And truthfully, Jordan wasn't a natural baseball star. His batting average hovered around .202, and he struck out often. But here's what many miss. He was improving. His manager at the time, Terry Francona, later said that if Jordan had stuck with baseball for a few more years, he might have made the majors. His work ethic was legendary. Arriving early, staying late, lifting weights, running drills, never cutting corners. For Jordan, baseball wasn't about stats or fame. It was about chasing his father's dream and finding peace in the process. Fans, meanwhile, packed minor league stadiums across America just to watch him play. Wherever the Barons went, ticket sales soared. It was like a traveling circus again, except this time the spectacle was Michael Jordan swinging a bat instead of dunking a basketball. Then came 1995. The Bulls, struggling without him, needed a savior. And Jordan, after nearly 2 years away, felt the itch to return. On March 18, 1995, he sent out a two-word press release that shook the sports world. "I am back." That was it. No dramatic speech, no TV special, just two words. Days later, he returned to the NBA wearing number 45 instead of 23, a tribute to his late father. His first few games were rusty, but soon he reminded everyone who he was. By the following season, the Bulls were dominant again, beginning their second three-peat. This chapter of Jordan A.S. life revealed something profound. Greatness isn't always about staying in your lane. Sometimes it's about daring to take risks, even when people laugh. Jordan, stepping away from basketball to play baseball, showed vulnerability, humanity, and a willingness to follow his heart. And his return? It was like a superhero coming out of retirement, just when the world needed him most. For Americans, this story became more than sports. It was a cultural moment. It reflected themes of loss, resilience, risk-taking, and redemption. It reminded fans that even legends grieve, even icons search for meaning, and even the greatest of all time sometimes need to step away before coming back stronger. For 3. The shot against Cleveland. There are moments in sports that live forever, not because of championships or records, but because of sheer drama. For Michael Jordan, one such moment came in the 1989 NBA playoffs against the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was the first round, a do-or-die Game 5, with just 3 seconds left on the clock. The Bulls trailed by 1. The season hung in the balance. The play was drawn up for Jordan, of course. He caught the inbounds pass near the foul line, dribbled once, rose up, and, with Craig Elo leaping desperately to block him, released a jumper that seemed to hang in the air for an eternity. Swish. Buzzer. Game over. The Bulls advanced, the Cavs were crushed, and Jordan leapt into the air, pumping his fists in one of the most iconic celebrations in sports history. That shot, forever remembered simply as the shot, became a turning point in Jordan's career. What made it so significant wasn't just the drama, it was the symbolism. Up until then, many still doubted whether Jordan was more than just a spectacular scorer. Could he deliver in the clutch? Could he lead a team when everything was on the line? With that one jumper over Elo, he answered those questions with authority. It wasn't just a basket, it was a declaration. Michael Jordan was not just great, he was inevitable. Cleveland fans, of course, were devastated. The Cavaliers had built a strong roster and believed this was their year. Instead, they became the victims of Jordan's rise. For Chicago fans, meanwhile, it was euphoria. The Bulls hadn't yet won a championship, but the shot gave them a taste of what was coming. The cultural impact was massive. That moment has been replayed countless times on highlight reels, commercials, and documentaries. It's become shorthand for clutch performance, a universal reference point in American sports culture. Even people who don't watch basketball know what the shot means. And the beauty of it? Jordan would go on to make many more iconic shots in his career. Finals, game winners, buzzer beaters, impossible fadeaways. But it all began in Cleveland in 1989, with one man, one ball, one shot, and one destiny. Think of how Americans love moments of individual triumph, where one person, against the odds, seizes history with their own hands. That's what the shot represented. It wasn't a championship, but it felt like one. It was proof that Jordan wasn't just playing the game, he was rewriting it. 2. The 6 championships and 2 three-peats. When you talk about Michael Jordan, one number echoes louder than any other. 6. 6 championships. 6 times reaching the NBA Finals, 6 times walking away with the trophy, and 6 times earning Finals MVP. In a league where dynasties are hard to sustain, Jordan didn't just win, he dominated. The first 3 titles came from 1991 to 1993. Jordan, along with Scottie Pippen and coach Phil Jackson, dismantled the Los Angeles Lakers, the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Phoenix Suns. Those years established the Bulls as the team of the 1990s and Jordan as the undisputed king of basketball. Then came his first retirement, baseball, and the uncertainty of whether the dynasty was over. But when he returned, the Bulls didn't just pick up where they left off, they elevated to another level. From 1996 to 1998, the Bulls completed a second three-peat, defeating the Seattle Supersonics and then back-to-back victories against the Utah Jazz. That era also gave us one of the most iconic images in sports: Jordan, in Game 6 of the 1998 Finals, hitting the go-ahead jumper over Brian Russell with just 5.2 seconds left. His follow-through, his hand lingering in the air, became a silhouette for greatness. That shot wasn't just a basket, it was the perfect exclamation point to the dynasty. The cultural weight of those 6 championships can't be overstated. In the United States, the 1990s were defined by more than just music, movies, and technology. They were defined by Michael Jordan. His finals runs weren't just games, they were national events. Families gathered around televisions, bars overflowed with fans, and kids stayed up past bedtime just to watch him work his magic. For an entire generation, June meant one thing: Jordan in the finals. The dominance was so complete that he left no room for doubt. Unlike other stars who suffered crushing finals defeats, Jordan's record was perfect: 6 for 6. No Game 7s needed, no what-ifs. Just excellence, repeated year after year. That's why, in debates about the greatest of all time, Jordan's finals record often stands as the trump card. It's not just about rings, it's about how he got them, with relentless determination, clutch performances, and an aura of inevitability. Number 1. The billion-dollar legacy. If Michael Jordan's story had ended with 6 championships, he would already be immortal. But his impact didn't stop on the court. In fact, some argue that his greatest achievement is what he built afterward: a billion-dollar legacy that changed sports, business, and culture forever. The foundation of that legacy is, of course, the Air Jordan brand. When Nike first signed Jordan in 1984, they expected to make maybe $3 million in 4 years. Instead, the Air Jordan line exploded, selling $126 million in its first year alone. Decades later, Air Jordans are still one of the most popular sneakers in the world, worn not only by athletes but by rappers, fashion icons, and everyday fans. Jordan turned shoes into status symbols, blending sport and style in a way no one had before. But his business empire didn't stop there. Jordan became the principal owner of the Charlotte Hornets, making him one of the few African-American majority owners in major U.S. sports. His investments and endorsements, from Gatorade to Hanes to McDonald, U.S., helped him build a net worth estimated at over $2 billion. That wealth made him the first billionaire athlete, a title that represents not just personal success, but a new model for how athletes can build empires beyond their playing careers. The cultural impact is just as profound. Jordan set the template for the modern sports superstar. Before him, athletes endorsed products. After him, athletes became global brands. LeBron James, Tiger Woods, Serena Williams, all of them followed a path Jordan blazed. He showed that an athlete could transcend the game, influencing fashion, music, and even language. Think about it. To be like Mike is still shorthand in America for achieving greatness. And it's not just about money or branding. Jordan's philanthropy has also made an impact. He has donated millions to causes ranging from education to racial equality, healthcare, and community development. His presence continues to inspire young athletes not just to chase championships, but to dream bigger, to think about life beyond the game. Walk through any American mall today, and you'll see kids who weren't even alive when Jordan last played, wearing his sneakers, imitating his moves, and quoting his mentality: "I can accept failure, but I can't accept not trying." That's not just influence, that's immortality. So what do all these facts tell us? That Michael Jordan wasn't just a basketball player. He was a cultural force, a business pioneer and a symbol of resilience. From being overlooked in high school to hitting game winners in college to dazzling the world in the Olympics and to dominating the NBA with 6 championships to creating a billion-dollar empire that still thrives today. His story is the ultimate American epic. He taught us that greatness isn't given, it's earned, that setbacks can be fuel, that clutch moments define legends, and that influence isn't confined to a court. It can ripple through fashion, business, culture, and generations. Michael Jordan didn't just play the game. He changed it forever. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your friends who love sports and epic stories. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next deep dive into the legends who shaped our world. And in the comments, let us know. What's your favorite Michael Jordan moment? The shot, the flu game, or that final jumper in 1998? We'd love to hear your stories. Until next time, keep chasing greatness.